What's up YouTube? Javi here at Javi's Boom Tech, and I am officially back from vacation. It was nice. It was over 110 degrees out there in Palm Springs, but it was a very well needed vacation with lots of booze and lots of swimming, lots of relaxation. But we are back, and tonight we've got the JBL Charge 3 up against the B&O Play A1. So let's get started. All right, guys, so here we are with the JBL Charge 3 and the B&O Play A1 once again. A couple key differences between the two speakers. Obviously, the JBL Charge 3 is 100% waterproof. I've verified that myself by taking it in the pool and even taking it a few feet underwater and then playing it with absolutely no problem. So that's what you're looking for in a speaker. This is definitely a great feature in the Charge 3. That being said, sound-wise, very good sound. It does perform better, I think, outdoors. Indoors, you can hear the slight imperfections in the treble, whereas outdoors, you can't really pick it up since you do have all that ambient noise in it. This speaker does get pretty loud, pretty powerful, so it's a very good outdoor speaker that's not going to take up a lot of room in your bag. Some key features, obviously, like I said, it is waterproof. It does have JBL Connect there. Battery life on this is fantastic. It's rated at 20 hours. I usually use it all week at varying volumes, and I can get through the whole week without a charge. So it's a fantastic speaker battery-wise, and it even has the ability to charge other devices through that USB plug, and I've actually utilized that a few times. It's a great feature to have. And then obviously your two passive radiators on the side there. So that's just a quick overview of the Charge 3. And then obviously we have the B&O A1. First off, you can tell it's got a nice aluminum grill with this nice rubber bottom to really grip whatever surface you put it on. It is substantially heavier than I would have thought for such a small unit. However, with 2 amps in there powering 2 separate drivers, I understand the added weight. That being said, it does have 2 drivers. One is a woofer and the other one is a tweeter, unlike on the Charge 3 where both drivers are exactly the same size, handling both the lows, mids, and highs. Whereas this one, the woofer is obviously handling the lows and the mids, and then your tweeter is handling all of your highs. Overall, I've been very impressed with the sound that comes out of this speaker. It's extremely clear, well defined, and even at max volume, you don't get distortion unless, of course, you're playing a bass heavy song. That's really the only time I've heard this speaker actually struggle. It starts to distort a little too much on the bass. However, other than that, I mean, this is an incredible performer sound-wise, excellent sound quality. Indoors, even outdoors, it does perform pretty well. However, I have heard better outdoors because of the omnidirectional nature of the speaker. It kind of gets sucked up a little bit by all the ambient noise that you do encounter when you are outdoors. Other things to note, just like the JBL Charge 3, you can pair it to a second B&O A1 for stereo sound. It does have a nice little app that you can use to adjust EQ if you don't like the way it ships. So that is a nice little touch, something that's missing on the JBL Connect app. You cannot switch EQ on that app. A couple other things, you've got this nice little strap to wrap around your wrist if you want to carry it around. And because of its small size, it's pretty easy to throw in a backpack and carry around. Battery life on this is rated at 24 hours. However, I have not seen anywhere near that number. In fact, the best I've gone at max is almost 2 hours. I usually listen at about 65% volume. And even at that, I'm barely eking out 4.5 hours. So battery life on this unit is terrible, to say the least. Another feature, obviously, that it does not have that the Charge 3 does is this device is not waterproof. It is splash resistant, so it can take a splash or two. However, do not take this in the pool because it will not survive. You'll have just a nice looking paperweight on your hands. So that is a quick rundown of some of the features you're getting and a little bit about the sound on the A1. So without any further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get this sound test started. We'll go ahead and start with an indoor test with both of them, and then we'll take them both outdoors and see how things change when you throw them outdoors and they both encounter all that ambient noise that you're going to encounter when you do take these units outdoors. So let's get started, guys. Alright guys, so we've got the JBL Charge 3 here, and of course the B&O Play A1 right on my right hand side. I'm gonna go ahead and do this outdoor test between the two, see how they differ in an outdoor setting versus the indoor setting. Just a few things you got to remember: that the JBL Charge 3 is directional with its two drivers facing me, whereas the A1 is obviously omnidirectional with the sound shooting up and then towards me. So with that said, let's go ahead and get this sound test started. I'm going to start at about 5 feet away, and we'll start with the Charge 3 here at 75% volume and quickly work up from there.
Gone are the days when I would wait in loneliness. You came and rained all of your love into my life. You're a dream to me, a clear vision of happiness. Reality can never ever be a lie. Happiness.
Definitely a nice punch there with the bass.
So so happy. Like a light, I won't let you slip away. You always show real unconditional.
Nice punch on the bass, not as pronounced as on the Charge 3. Charge 3 also slightly louder. Still all the way to max here. Max volume.
I love you, love into my life. And I would wait longer. Never ever be alone. So happy, like a light you glow. I won't let you slip away. You always show me a love unconditional. So please never change. You're perfect just the way you are. I'm in pain. And I would wait in loneliness. I love your love into my life. And I would wait in loneliness.
Back to the Charge 3. Gonna back up a little bit. Test out the Bluetooth range a bit and how far the sound can reach and still sound decent. Johnny the Horse. So I'm on max volume at about 30 feet from the Charge 3. No issues with Bluetooth. Still sounds pretty decent. Carries nicely. For being omnidirectional, still carries sound pretty far. Still sounds pretty good, but I definitely still give the edge to the Charge 3. That directional sound definitely helping the Charge 3 in the outdoor test here.
Here we go.
Drop the side here. You definitely lose a bit being off axis, not directly in front of it. Whereas on the B&O A1, it really doesn't matter where you're standing. It's going to be the same in either direction. like a slight vibration in the A1. It sometimes has issues with bass heavier songs with a little bit of distortion at max.
Invincible.
Yeah, the A1, even though it's not quite as loud as the JBL Charge 3 outdoors, Charge 3 definitely carries a bit further, especially since it is directional. However, the A1 doesn't get as much compression going on as the Charge 3. Even though the Charge 3 doesn't get much compression, it does roll back the bass a bit, so you don't get that same punch that you do at 70% volume. The A1 does a little bit better in that department. There is still some compression, still a little bit of rollback, but definitely still got that nice punch even at max. However, like I said, the further you go, the better the Charge 3 does tend to sound because it is traveling further. But anyway, guys, that is the outdoor test. Let's head back inside. All right, guys, so there you have it, the indoor and outdoor sound test with the B&O Play A1 and the JBL Charge 3. Now, I gotta say, I had both units with me on vacation, and I was doing a lot of listening between the two of them, both indoors and outdoors, and honestly, I definitely preferred the B&O Play A1 for all my indoor listening. Even when I asked my wife which one she preferred, she quickly chose the A1, and she has no clue in regards to Bluetooth speakers, so she has no idea which is which. She just knows which one sounds better to hers. The A1 just able to produce much more clarity in the treble. The voices and instruments are just nicely separated and defined, crystal clear, even at max volume, and that low end is very punchy, which is quite surprising for a speaker of its size. Every time I hear it, I still can't believe the amount of bass that it is able to put out due to that large woofer that it has, and because of that tweeter, it can produce those nicely defined highs. Whereas on the Charge 3, since you have those two drivers that are both the same size, both handling the lows, mids, and highs, the treble response just doesn't sound as refined or as clear as what you're hearing on the B&O A1. Now, that being said, I did prefer the JBL Charge 3 outdoors. It just seemed to perform better. In my experience with omnidirectional speakers, they sound great indoors when they're not competing against other noises in the environment. However, when you take them outdoors, that's when they start to fall apart a bit, and that seemed to be the case a little bit with the A1. With the JBL Charge 3 being obviously directional, the sound is coming right at you. With the A1, the sound is going up and then towards you, and a lot of it is getting lost in the noise of whatever environment you're in, especially one that I was in this week, which is the pool. There's a lot of people there, a lot of noise, and the JBL Charge 3 just performed better. Not only that, but the Charge 3 is also waterproof, so it had no problem being dipped into the pool or getting splashed on, which did happen several times. The A1 is splash proof, however, I still wouldn't take it to the pool in fear that I might drop it and it might roll into the pool and then it's done. And then second, the Charge 3 just destroys the A1 when it comes to battery life. The A1 is great for indoor listening, also because it has the ability to be plugged in for power. Now you can solve that by picking up a portable power bank to take with you, but with the Charge 3, you don't need that because it has excellent battery life and you're not gonna have any trouble getting through the day with the Charge 3 out and about. Now, if I had to pick between the two, it's really tough because the Charge 3 is $100 less, and it's just a little bit more versatile as far as to where I can take it and not having to worry about that battery life. And sound-wise, I still think it's a very good speaker. Produces some nice punchy bass. However, those highs, you kind of hear the weakness in the highs. They sound a bit muffled, definitely when compared to the A1. They do not have the refinement of the A1. Instruments and vocals seem to mesh a little bit, and it gets a little bit worse the higher you put the volume. So if you're all about sound quality, definitely go with the A1, especially if you're gonna be doing primarily indoor listening. However, if you are willing to sacrifice a little bit of sound quality for better battery life and more versatility in terms of taking it pretty much wherever you want and not having to worry about the unit breaking on you, then definitely go with the Charge 3. I think you'll still be satisfied, even though you're not getting quite the sound quality that the A1 is producing. But anyway, guys, that does it for me tonight. Just a quick preview of what I got coming up. I am expecting the Diamond Box this week, so as soon as I get that in, expect a video unboxing right away. I'm excited to get my hands on that speaker and see it and hear it for the first time in person. I've also got the Sharp BT9. I don't know the first two letters, like GX BT9. It's an older boombox speaker. I've had a lot of requests to buy it, to get it, and to compare it to the Iowa XS9. A lot of people are convinced that it's better than the Iowa XS9. Having not heard it in person, I can't verify that. So since I did see it on Groupon for 99 bucks the other day, I went ahead and purchased it. The reason I never purchased it before is because the speaker does require that you purchase additional D batteries for it in order to power it, which I'm not a big fan of. I like my speakers to come with their own rechargeable battery already. So that's just an added cost if you were to pick that up. But it might be worth it if it does, in fact, outperform the Iowa XS9. But we'll definitely check that out. I also expect that sometime this week, early next week. So you're not gonna wanna miss the next few coming episodes. But anyway, guys, that does it for me tonight. Enjoy your Monday tomorrow, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.